Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Reverend Michael Carter, and I want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to tune in to this message. I want to welcome you to the Conscious Awakening Network. I am an experiencer. I am a member of the professional clergy. I serve a Unitarian Universalist congregation here in the mountains of North Carolina. And I want to share a message with you today. There'll be other talks about my experiences and UFOs and the Bible and how that influences religion and spirituality. But today I wanted to take the time to just talk about something I feel that we are in need of today, in great abundance on our planet. And that is the need of acceptance. I'm talking about acceptance with an A, not acceptance with an E. Acceptance with an E is when we exclude something or someone that we don't want, or something that we don't want to face up to. And we all that do that collectively and individually. But acceptance is when you receive something or you come to grips with something. And so acceptance in this context can lead to freedom. And it is crucial, at least to my mind, that in our life, on our life journey, we learn to move from tolerance to acceptance. This is crucial. Many people feel that when they are asked to accept something, someone, some situation, that this means that somehow they must somehow acquiesce. They must surrender. They must give up to a situation. And that's not what I'm talking about at all. Certainly there are times when we need to step back and take a breath and regroup. But this is not necessarily true when we talk about accepting, because we have to remember that before we can change something, we have to be able to see it for what it really is. This is the key to any spiritual path. And Ernest Hemingway is once quoted as saying, that he was always suspicious of people who wanted to change the world without taking the time to find out what the world was about in the first place. And again, this is important to remember: to fully accept someone, something, a situation, you must first see the moment for what it really is. And the challenge is to see ourselves for what and who we really are before we try to change or even to accept someone else. The Reverend Michael Beckwith of Agape International uh, congregation, a congregation, I think it's in Los Angeles, he says that in the context of someone not being able to accept or being willing to accept anything in life, he says it takes more energy to stay in your past than it does to move forward. And when you don't allow yourself to move forward, you are going against the flow of life. You're fighting life. You're going against the flow of life. We see that everywhere we turn, especially now in this season of great change and upheaval. No doubt this is the human challenge, being able to accept that, number one, that life is not always fair. A lot of people have a problem with that. Life is not always fair. People are not always loving all the time. They're not always loyal all the time. Being able to accept that everything changes and ends. Being able to accept that things do not always go according to plan. Being able to accept those 5 things in life make our spiritual journey a little smoother. It doesn't get rid of the problems, but it makes it a little smoother. These five facts will come to test us many times in our lives. And this is what it means to be accepting. In Eastern thought, for those of you who are students of Eastern thought, one is taught to go with the flow of life and not try to control it, to manufacture, to engineer. In the West, we are taught that we don't want to go with the flow of life. We are taught that we are in control of life and the people in it. Reinhold Niebuhr, an American Protestant theologian, composed a prayer. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It has been the cornerstone, this prayer of every recovery movement. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Or maybe you've heard this variation. God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. Simple but profound wisdom here. This is the core challenge of life. This is it. That to believe, somehow we believe that these things don't apply to us, but they really do. And when we resist this wisdom, we resist the reality of life. And then our life becomes what? Full of frustration, full of sorrow and disappointment. Some things are simply built into what it means to be a human being on this planet. Some things just come along with being in a human body on this planet. The spiritual genius that manifested as the energy as we know as the Buddha knew this. The teacher Jesus said, the poor, for instance, you'll always have the poor with you. He didn't say you shouldn't try to help them. He didn't say that you shouldn't try to feed them, but working with the poor, acknowledging that that's just part of being on planet Earth. Buddha said that the cure for suffering was non-attachment. He did not say that we should not assist or care for those in need. He simply reminded us that when we become attached to our actions and the results of those actions, they cause us suffering. In other words, non-attachment is not that you should not own or feel anything, but that nothing should own you. Nothing should own your feelings. Philosopher Alan Watts reminds us that there will always be suffering in life, but that we must not suffer because of the suffering. And yet, in life, there are also joys. There are also delightful givens. We experience joy. Our hopes are sometimes surprised and exceeded. We discover unique inner gifts, things that have a way of working out. Luck comes our way. Miracles of healing can and do happen. You see, the ego, the human ego, is afraid when it cannot be in control. And I want to say here at the outset, I'm not one of these teachers or people that believe that you should get rid of the human ego. No, the ego is what gets you up in the morning. The ego makes sure that you look presentable when you come out. The ego makes sure that, there's such a thing as having a healthy sense of ego, that you do your best, you present yourself in the best way. So I'm not saying the ego in and of itself is no good. But there is that shadow side of the ego. And it insists on being in control of everything, of everything. Life happens to us in its own way, no matter how much we protest or seek to evade it. A case in point, I have a daughter who's going to college in about 2 weeks. I'm a parent. She's leaving. She's going to start her own life. I'm a parent. I worry. I fret. And at the same time, I want her to fly. So I have to accept the fact that she's leaving, just like my parents had to accept that I was leaving. And how I do that is I'm aware of myself and the things that I say. But when I listen to her, she says, "Dad, I'm just so excited. I'm so full of excitement." She's not worrying about something going wrong or some catastrophe happening, nor should she be, and neither should I. But I have to learn to accept. And so what I'm doing is I want to be excited for her. I have to let go of control. But we always do this. No one is exempt. We can learn to accept life on its own terms. We don't have to shake our fist at the sky. We can create a sane and authentic way of living. How? I'm glad you asked. By saying yes to life. Saying yes to life. Not why, not how come, but yes. The story of the Buddha, and I'm not trying to push Buddhism on you at all, but we learned, it's a wonderful illustration. His father was the king. The Buddha came from some means. His dad was trying to shelter him from the nitty gritty things of life. His father was trying to protect him, but one day he snuck out of the kingdom, out of off the grounds there, and he saw sickness, old age, death, people not being treated fairly. And these sights moved him deeply, and they contributed to his insights. He walked his spiritual path. They awakened him. And ultimately, the story tells us he became enlightened. So we have to see life for what it really is. The question is that, when we fall down, we have to get back up. There's an old Zen saying, 7 times down, 8 times up. We can ask the lesson. What is the lesson I can learn here? What is this life? What is the situation trying to teach me? Perhaps I'm not as accepting as I think I am. Perhaps I'm not as tolerant as I think I am. And in this way, we can check the ego with its constant neuroses and messaging of fear, desire, control, judgment, complaint, and expectation. And so when we say yes to life, we are saying yes to all of it. All of it. And we begin to get it that anything in life can happen to anyone. No one is exempt. There's an old biblical saying that it rains on the just and the unjust. We begin to get it that we must accept others and their personalities and habits. You don't have to like them, but we cannot make any exceptions. The poet Rumi tells us that if we are irritated by every rub, how will we be polished? This is the sentiment behind the author James Baldwin's statement that nothing human is foreign to me. He's not shocked or thrown off course by human behavior. When we treat each other with altruism, or when we treat each other like something on the bottom of our shoes, he's not thrown by that, because he knows that this is what it means to be human. What we have to do is stop expecting us from other people. Stop expecting you from other people. Shakespeare puts it this way, and he puts these words into the mouth of King Lear. A most poor man, made tame to fortune's blows, who by the art of knowing and feeling sorrows is pregnant to good pity. In other words, the blows of life equip King Lear to have what? To have compassion. In the West, we say love. Having compassion and love towards others. The inner life needs to stretch or it will stifle. We need to learn how to be uncomfortable, to risk being uncomfortable. I know you probably think it would be great, but what kind of world would it be if things never changed? If things were fully predictable? If life didn't include pain and everyone just loved equally and loyally? This is not the world that we live in, and we have to come to grips with that. That's called a spiritual maturity. Western thought teaches us to think in dualistic terms, simplistic notions of good and bad. But we can learn to accept and to say yes to the paradoxes of life. We say yes to beginnings and endings. We say yes to change. We make commitments, and sometimes the plans fall through. And we maintain our compassion in an unjust world. We can be loving towards others no matter how cruelly they act towards us. We have that in us. We can recognize and acknowledge the darker side of life, of other people, and still choose not to give up on them. That's another sign of spiritual maturity. Let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Although everything changes and ends in life, things also renew themselves. There are cycles to life. There are seasons that further our evolution. Although things do not always go according to our plans, sometimes if we allow ourselves, we can look at life from a higher altitude, and we can sense a larger plan that's at work. There are synchronicities that come. The right person comes our way. The right book comes our way. Although life is not always fair, something remains in us, committed to being fair. And we refuse to retaliate and to get revenge. And although suffering is a part of life, we have ways of dealing with it where we expand our powers. We can handle the pain. We can help others in pain as well. Although people are not loving and loyal all the time, and we've all been betrayed, and we've possibly all at some point in our life betrayed others, nothing has to get in the way of our acting with loving kindness and not giving up on others. No human action can take away my capacity to love if I don't want it to happen. Each of us has a negative and positive side. We look at the yin yang symbol. There's a dark and a light side, and there's a little darkness in the light and a little lightness in the dark. This is what we call balance. And when we accept the so-called good with the bad, the easy is difficult, and we develop gratitude by saying yes, yes. The opposite of yes is not no in this context. It is control. And behind that control is fear, a fear that we will feel something painful. Yes is acceptance. No is refusal. Being in control is stressful. It takes your energy away. We do not let go of control. We let go of the belief that we have control. Worry is directly related to control. We all do it. We worry about the future. We worry about money. We worry about relationships and jobs and all of the unpredictable things in our lives. Yet, if the truth is told, there's only one worry, and that is not being in control of what will happen. And we worry because we don't trust ourselves to handle what will happen to us. That's behind all of that fear and worry. We worry because we don't trust that the way the chips fall will work out for the best. We worry because we haven't learned to accept. It's important to remember that when we learn to accept life, not as what we want it to be, but as it is, we don't have to push this acceptance onto others because everyone has a different reality. But we don't want to be members of the CIA, right? We don't want to be the critic, the interpreter, and the advisor. We can begin the practice because we're going to have to practice this. We can begin the practice in our meditation practice. We can visualize. We can stop talking about other people, taking their inventory, worrying about how they live their lives, judging and criticizing behavior, interpreting what they should do according to us. This is unrealistic and it's immature. Joseph Campbell was once quoted as saying, hell is being stuck in ego, stuck in trying to control things so that they remain the same. Control is the opponent to the acceptance of life. When do you know, you can tell when you're in control? You want others to be different. You want them to change. You want someone, you get angry when they don't call you back or they don't visit you. The house is not as clean or as neat as you want it to be. We don't like waiting for tests or waiting for results. We obsess about what happened or what might not happen. We're waiting for other people to change. Our parents, our children, our partners, our friends. They don't behave the way we think that they should behave, and it irks us. We have to anticipate all the possibilities. This is not comprehensive, but you get the drift. And this is the truth of the matter is we will never live in a world of 9 billion people where everyone will accept us or our differences and uniqueness. That's a young person's dream. You and I must learn to accept that. Yet we can be accepting of ourselves and others, but if we cannot accept ourselves, if I'm not happy with me, I'm not going to treat you well. How can I fully accept you? It's just that simple. For we cannot accept it. If I cannot accept myself, I can't accept you. This is what we're talking about here. And so that's what I want to leave you with. Acceptance means that for now, this is the situation, okay? For right now, it will change. This is the situation. This is the moment. And I have to do in this moment what the situation requires of me. And I will do it, and I will do it willingly. Listen to these words from George Bernard Shaw. This is the true joy of life, being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a brute force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. He says, I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the entire community, and as long as I live, it is a privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live, and I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me, no. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got to hold on to for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it off to future generations. What a beautiful way to look at life. How about this one? This old favorite. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant, for they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery, but let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideas, and everywhere you look, life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of loneliness and fatigue. Beyond wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, who or whatever you conceive that to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your own soul. With all of its sham and drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be careful. Strive to be happy. So, my friends, be joyful. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Be joyful. Be accepting, even after you have considered all of the facts. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be. Until next time, I wish you all a gentle peace. I got it, babe. 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 You know what, babe? You can look at it, if you, some of it.
I just think you should check the sound quality.
Okay. All
Come on,
right.
buddy. Let's go.
And maybe, I don't know, we could eat here. I don't think you want to. Maybe, well, let's go out tomorrow night then.
I'm fine either way then. I just want to let him out while
Yeah.
we're doing this.
Okay.
If we're gonna go out, I want him to go outside back. Come on. You want to try and potty while we take care of this?
This is an interesting background, isn't it?
It is a
For
very
people.
interesting background.
Okay, so I should I hit end meeting for
Yeah.
it?